On this crisp October day, we find ourselves on a walking home tour in the lovely town of Chatham, the Pittsylvania County seat. Our guide is Bill Black, a beloved professor of English at the prestigious Chatham Hall boarding prep school for girls. Known as a keen local history buff, Professor Black is taking us to 4 of his favorite homes among the 37 points of interest on Chatham's walking tour.
We're on Whittle Street. Whittle Street is interesting in itself in the fact that it's one of the streets still remaining from the original town of Competition, which was the name of Chatham before 1852. Chatham was designated Competition because there was a competition between 2 areas to be the county seat. At the very end of the street is an Italianate villa. It's called the Sims House. And what's interesting to people visiting the house now is that it has a real connection to the way that the 2 schools in Chatham developed. Chatham Hall was called originally Chatham Episcopal Institute. And it was founded in 1894, and it burned to the ground, I mean, it's cinders to earth, in 1906. And at that time, the school moved into the then abandoned Sims House on Whittle Street. And all of the girls were there for 2 years until they could build a new school. When they moved out, a man by the name of Warren moved in and opened a boys training academy. This is the first time we had a high school for boys in town. And his training academy eventually became Hargrave Military Academy. And there are a couple of houses I'd like to show you on Main Street. The first one is called the Shepherd Thompson House. It was built in 1893, and it's really interesting because this is an example of Queen Anne style architecture that was built not in Chatham, but was sent here on railway cars, carted up Depot Hill, and reassembled on the site of this house. The house is a lovely old house. There's all those boxwoods, and there are English boxwoods that have reached maturity. There are outbuildings in the back which still serve the house. In 1921, the house was bought by a family that tried to bring it back to its former glory. And right now, the house is nicely restored. The other house on Main, if you look farther up the street, notice that there's a wide curve that goes out to the west, leaving a little island of land in the center. That island of land was created by moving the stage route to the west by court order, as a matter of fact. The house is the Coles house, built in 1832. It's 3 stories. The bottom story was a kitchen, soapstone floor. It had 3 rooms, and upstairs there were 3 rooms per floor. The house is one of the ghost stories for Chatham. The last of the houses I want to tell you about is Oak Hall. It's technically on Franklin Place, but it really fronts onto South Main Street. Oak Hall was built in 1837 by James Poindexter. Poindexter himself was a merchant in town and also an architect, so he helped design the building. It's 2 stories. It's late Federal style architecture. It has 5 bays, and it's just like the Weir House. It has a wonderful leaded glass fan over the front window. Inside, all of the ceilings are plaster molded, so it's a neat old house.
Although Oak Hall is the last stop on our brief tour today, it is certainly not the last home you'll visit when you set out in person on Chatham's historical walking tour. Tour brochures and maps can be picked up in Chatham's Town Hall or in the Historical Society's headquarters in the 1813 clerk's office. Come discover on your own how Chatham earned the title, the prettiest little town in Virginia.